Welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm really excited for today's interview. I'm talking to a beautiful woman, Cecile Thomas. Cecile is a law of attraction and manifestation coach who helps self-aware joy seekers to create the best versions of themselves and create the life that they're meant for. So we have a lot in common. She's a really cool girl. So in this episode, we talk about Cecile's passion for eradicating regret. Yes, she's got a powerful story about how she came to this place and really the impact that regret has on our life, how to heal it / move forward, how to avoid creating more regret in our life. She's got some incredible wisdom drops just about life, about law of attraction, about manifestation, and about how to act on our desires, say yes, and stop having things that we regret. Cecile is passionate. I love her. I'm instantly connected to her, and I know that you're going to get a lot out of this episode. So without further ado, let's welcome her on the show. Hey, Seeker, welcome to the Awakening Her podcast. I am so grateful that you've been led here, and I'm excited for you that you're answering the call to manifest more magic in your life by mastering the law of attraction. So cool. My name is Talia, and I'm committed to cutting the fluff and showing you exactly how to manifest more excitement, ease, success, abundance, confidence, love, and anything else you've been craving. So if you're ready to crack the code on manifestation, amplify your intuition, and play in the quantum, we are now besties. Let's do this. Hello and welcome to the show, Cecile. I'm excited that you're here. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I can't wait for everybody to hear your story and what you stand for in this world. It's truly amazing. So do you mind by just telling us a little bit about yourself to start?
Sure. So my name is Cecile Thomas. I am a French woman, as you can hear, but I've been living in Canada for like 7 years now in Montreal. And I am a mindset and manifestation coach. What I am is a law of attraction coach. I've been certified by Christy Whitman. I don't know if you know her, but she's this powerful woman. Now she's a channel of the Council of Light. It's like Abraham Hicks, but in another woman. And I help self-aware joy seekers into becoming the best version of themselves so they can manifest their dream or bring their dreams to life. And I'm very passionate about what I do.
That is so, I love that. Did you say self-aware joy seekers?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I know that everybody listening is like, yep, that's me. I love that. That's so perfect. I always call my community seekers, and I've always deeply identified as a seeker. And I love just putting in that self-aware bit because that's incredible. So how did you get to do this? What's unfolded in your path to allow you to kind of be at this place where now you get to help other people?
Well, to be honest, for most of my life, I felt really average, and that, I was nothing special. No real talent, no real passion. I was just, following the path that was laid before me by society, my family, and I was just, going through the motion until I was living in Ireland at the time, and by mistake, I downloaded a documentary called The Secret, when at first I wanted to download a movie with David Duchovny. And well, it took me a long time to download that movie, so I said, okay, let's watch it. And that's when my life changed. I became obsessed with the law of attraction. I tried, I experienced, and then something woke up in me. It was like I wanted to learn. I wanted to go deeper into the theory, and yeah, one thing leading to another. I became I became a coach, and I decided to follow that path because it was the first thing in my life, really, that kept me awake at night. So I decided to just listen and say, go for it. It means
Wow.
something. You have to spread the message.
Wow, I love that. I love how it was a different movie you thought you were getting, but then
Yeah.
it's like, okay, fine. Because I remember too back in the day, I spent like 2.5 hours downloading a movie. It's on your computer, like you might as well, right? And that's funny, the universe putting its little fingers into your path.
True, true.
Yeah. So, something that you talk about that I was really fascinated with when we chatted a few weeks ago was about eradicating regret. So, can you share with us a little bit about sort of how that came about in your life and your experience that led you to be passionate about that?
Yeah, so there are a few things. First, from my experience, there are many things that I regret not doing in my life, and like everybody else. And some of those things, they still follow me as of today. This lingering thought that, oh, you should have done that, even if it was 10 years ago. And an even more personal story that, um, and I shared it with you before, but I want to share again today, is that my grandmother passed away back in 2013. And a few years later, my mother, so her daughter, she told me that on her deathbed, her own mother told her that she regretted her whole life at 80 plus years. And it just finished to break my heart. It was like, it was my grandma, 80 plus years, and she regretted her whole life because of all the things she wanted to do but never did. And maybe that's what, told me that, yeah, life is short. We have only this one life, and most of us spend this life doing things they don't want to do, being unhappy, being unfulfilled, and missing so many opportunities. And sometimes the opportunities we have, they only present themselves once. And once, if you miss it, then it's gone forever. And you're left with what? Regret that will just destroy you for years and years. And then you dwell on that, and then you miss other opportunities. And so I feel, and it's again like with the passion I had when I discovered the law of attraction. Now I'm just like, okay, this is bigger than me. It's bigger than me, but I have experienced it, and most people do experience it. We all have regret at some point in our life, and a life unlived is the number one regret of people on their last day on this planet. So we have to do something about it. And so yes, today it's my mission. If I can participate in, yes, eradicating regrets and guiding people into taking those chances, then I can spend my whole life doing that. I have no problem with that.
Wow. Wow, hearing that story must have just been heartbreaking, right? And once you sort of became an adult and you were realizing, the depths of that, like you said, to be over 80 years old and to say that you could regret your whole life, that is really, it's really shaking, right? It's kind of
Yeah.
like it really rocks you. So, did that impact your mom in that way too?
Well, we never really talked about it, but I'm sure it did. When your own mother, she's just going to pass away, and she tells you that, it must have been heartbreaking for her. And the thing is, I see her following that path too, and there is nothing I can do about it. So if I can't help her, I can help others who may be aware that they may be going into that path and want to change it. So
Wow.
yes, it is very personal, but it also fuels. it does fuel my purpose and my passion to
Yeah.
help others.
Yeah. And especially seeing her, so what you're saying is you think that she's a little bit going down the same path of gathering regrets as she goes.
Yeah, because I know there are so many things she wants to do, but things she told me like 5 years ago she wanted to do, and still she is where she is. She's not moving. So I see that she's going there too, and but yeah, what can I do? Just inspire her to do something and leave until it's too late.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
that's really
yeah,
powerful. I also have heard a lot about like generational trauma and generational beliefs and patterns. And it sounds like, from your grandma to your mom, and there could very easily be many, many more generations before your grandma, especially the time, in history that was. A lot of times women couldn't do the things they wanted to do and married the people they didn't want to marry. And maybe that's something that's gone on in your history, and for you to be breaking that trend, even if it is just your grandma and your mom, for you to be breaking that is also really powerful. And for future generations, right, it's just incredible what that could just unlock in your life and the power that could have for healing.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I didn't see it that way. So now I feel even more proud to be the pattern breaker.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me a little bit more about why you think this topic is so important. Like you kind of touched on it. You said, we have these regrets, and then because we're feeling down from these regrets, we miss more opportunities. Like, can you just talk about that in relation to creating your best life and law of attraction and whatever else?
Yeah, and I think it has a lot to do with self-worth, because the more we miss opportunities, and the less we feel worthy. It's like you feel like a failure when in fact, and we have so much power to create our own life. But the problem is, if you accumulate all that chances that you didn't take, and all those opportunities that you missed, then you get into a very, very negative spiral, and you just, well, you can go down or you can stay stuck, but you are definitely not moving forward, and you are creating more of that. So you are just giving the universe the signal that, hey, I am feeling the regret right now. Give me more of that.
Mm. Yeah.
And it also comes down to facing the fears, because most often, even if it's like you're looking for your soulmate and you see this person in the street and you have this impulse to go and talk to them, but you don't go. Why? Because you're afraid of rejection, or what will they think of me, and blah, 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 and all this chatter in the mind, all the self-talk that's going on. And then you're left with, oh, what if? What if I did that? What if? What if? But it's too late. You missed your chance.
Mm.
And then the fear is still there. For if you find someone else in the street tomorrow, the fear will still be there. And if you don't face it at some point, then you're just left with what if. And I feel like what ifs, they can, I just hate them, always like, what if I did something different? And it's really, really destroying. That's my opinion. But when you're just left with that, it's the best way to stay stuck in your life.
Yeah. As you're talking, I'm just really seeing how it feels like regret is almost the cause of everything that you don't like in your life? That's a pretty bold statement. I'm just kind of thinking of it now. So, I'm not ready to release it to the world yet, or maybe I am on the podcast. But, just thinking like if we hate something in our life, I know hate's a strong word and I'm saying it intentionally because a lot of people will say like, I hate the pattern I have with money or, the fact that I can't find a mate. And it's that really strong feeling. Tied in there somewhere is gotta be regret. Like I'm mad at myself that I didn't go on that date because that maybe would have been the one, or I'm mad at myself that I never hired someone to help me with money, or I'm mad at myself, even if we're not aware of what it is, it almost feels like regret could be a part of almost any discomfort, right? Like when we're uncomfortable in our body, it's like, I regret that I've never once stuck to something or got the support I needed to lose weight or whatever, right? It almost seems like no matter what we're working with, regret's in there somewhere. Do you believe that?
Yes, and the more you think about it, like I regret, and then time is passing by, and then in 6 months from now you say, "Oh my God, like I regret. I spent so much time thinking about that, and then I missed all the opportunities, and then it's like such the snowball effect. Like but I feel in every area of our life, if we look at it, there is regret everywhere. There is. I cannot think of one area of my life where I don't have regret for one thing or another. And I'm still working on that, on not, okay, I have regrets in the past. That's fine. Let's move on.
Yeah.
The important thing is not to get into the self-blame or the sabotage. Now is the moment to say, okay, it's done. It broke my heart. Okay, I missed it. But now it's time to move forward and to create from that moment.
Yeah, that's so good. So what should people do then? Because that's like you're explaining it right now. So if say, we've been carrying these regrets, we're becoming present to them through this conversation, and just I know my listeners are thinkers, so they're going to be thinking about their own life and pondering. So what do we do now if we regret the fact that we didn't do this and that? How do we move on?
We learn. Learn from, it happened. So you got your lesson. And you learn or you don't learn, and you repeat the pattern over and over again. And yes, it's time to learn and say, okay, lesson learned. And now I'm moving on, and the next opportunity I see, I act on it. It's about learning and taking action and listening to that voice, because the impulses that we have, the intuition that we have, they are taking us somewhere. And we have to be willing to listen and not let the fear or the inner conversation about what could go wrong or what could go right, but at least you try, and you don't have any what ifs, and you don't have any, you at least because you tried, you did it.
Yeah. And when you try, you're going to learn too, right? There's
Definitely.
a lot of things that I've, even looking back, say my business, a lot of things I've been led to do that didn't pan out the way I thought they would. But what I learned in that process actually is benefiting me now. So, offers, people I've hired, not all of them did what I thought it would do in the moment. And some of them felt disappointing at the time. But now that I look back, I'm like, oh, I learned something huge from every single one of those things. Yeah. So that's a really cool thing that you say, like, learn, ask yourself, like, what is this teaching me? Or like, okay, lesson learned, right? Seeing what that lesson is. Do you have any tidbits about that? Like, how do you see what the lesson is if someone's unsure, why they are experiencing something?
Well, I don't feel that you need to look into the why. From my experience, and I know, we are all different, but every time I try to get into the why, and it seems like I try to justify why I failed and why I am here now, and so I stay kind of stuck in the past trying to justify that. So I'm more of the people who believe that, okay, it's in the past now. And who you are today is who you are, and it's totally okay. And you have your flaws, and yes, you have your regrets. But it's time to try something new. It's time to experience. It's time to play. And even if you're just trying, okay, what's the lesson? I need to learn my lesson. Well, you just know that you don't want to experience that anymore. So take chances. You know that's I use this for me, and I tell my clients to just do that. Stop justifying and stop trying to write down everything and what's the lesson or whatever. You learned it because you're hurt and you're not happy, and it's with you, and you know that you don't want to experience that. So to me, the lesson is learned, but you will only know if you don't repeat it again.
Right. Oh, I love that. I love that so much. I think that sometimes we make life really complicated. And
Yes.
with awareness and self-awareness, we could go into everything going, why and what trauma triggered this and what did that? And there's a time and a place for all of it. If you're doing the deep work and you're with someone and it feels like that's the right thing to do. But I agree, this is really cool that with every little thing, or if we're wanting to say change our relationship with our body or change our body, lose weight. And it's like, well, why haven't I before? It's like, just learn, meaning what I've been doing isn't working. So I'm going to listen to the nudge now and I'm going to take action on that. Lesson learned, without having to be like, was it this that caused it? Was it this that caused it? Right. I love that. Thanks for sharing that. That's really good.
Yeah, and it's really what I believe, because if you spend your time trying to justify this or that, then you're not moving. And we are here to evolve, and we are here to grow. And growing, it's about experiencing and not reliving again and again what happened in the past. We're not growing if we stay in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So instead, we need to, when that inner voice comes up, what you're saying is we need to just go like, consciously, it's like, I don't want to repeat this anymore. So lesson learned. And then what? When the next nudge comes up, I'm going to act on it. That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like every day is a new blank page to create something new. And yes, when the nudge comes, it's scary as hell. It's like, oh my God, okay, I have this nudge, but I'm afraid to do it. But there is no secret here. There is no secret. At some point, we have to face the fears, whatever they are, and see what's on the other side. Because yes, if you don't face the fear, then, oh, cool, I can stay in my comfort zone. But then you risk regret. And if you don't want regret, you will have to face the fear. But what do you choose? What do you choose? Because the price of regret is much higher than the price of freedom and living this life.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you do have a choice. And either way, you're expending energy, a lot of energy and fear, right?
Yeah.
I think of that whenever something comes up, and this happens all the time. I'm met with fears every day, and I choose if I'm going to listen or not. And I think of but it feels scary. And it's like, but every single time it's going to feel scary. And next time it's going to feel just as scary. But one thing I've kind of thought of is, do I want to dump it on my future self? You know what I mean? Because we kind of go, next time I'll do it. But if you really get present and go, it's going to be just as scary next time. So why am I dumping it on my future self? I almost picture it like someone else. She'll deal with it. It's like kids drop all their stuff and go, Mom will clean it up, but you're doing that to your future self. It's like, next time. And I, first of all, it's not even that I'm perfect by any means. There's times when I'm like, no, I'm not ready yet, but it keeps coming back. That lesson keeps coming back. And one day I choose different, right?
Yes. And if you think about it, every time you picture that future self, and I know for me, it's this very confident woman and she's looking fabulous. And but to become that woman, I know that I have to work to go there and I have to face some fears. And the she will be the version of myself that has faced the fear. So yeah, we have to begin now if we want to become whatever future self we want to become.
Oh, that's so cool. That is really, really just a great way of thinking about it. So when clients come to you or you're working with people, do they have to pinpoint the regrets that they have to kind of do this work? Or how do you go through that with someone if they just sign up with you?
No, I, as I told you, I don't believe in. It's not that I don't believe in digging the past and pinpointing the trauma or whatever, but what I do believe is that you have an opportunity right now to rewrite the whole story. You have an opportunity to stop being defined by whatever regrets or whatever trauma that you have, and you can decide, regardless of it all, to create a new story and to create a new version of yourself. And so I would be the first to tell the people who come to me, and if they say, oh, I have this trauma, I need to heal, I would be the first to say, no, you're just saying that you want to justify your present situation that you don't like. And no, we're not going to work on that. We want to create. We want to create and we want to begin to create now. And it just goes by, okay, awareness of the situation. You're where you are. You don't like it. Fair enough. But now let's move on. Let's create your vision and then let's bridge the gap between where you are now and where you want to go. And bridging the gap is not about going back in the past. It's about creating.
Yeah. So even if someone says, because I'm just thinking, I've definitely worked with people like this or things in my own life where there's been something that's happened that's caused a pattern. So you're not saying this pattern doesn't exist. It's more like in order to move forward through this pattern, we don't need to continue to dwell on what it was that happened. So say somebody comes to you and they want to be an entrepreneur, they want to do something that takes confidence, getting out there, getting online, but they've experienced trauma in their past and their confidence is shot. So you're not saying, that this trauma or experience didn't happen, but you're now saying, instead of dwelling on this, let's look at where you want to be and then bridging the gap to what they need, because our patterns do really affect who we are today for almost everyone, especially until they realize I can create new patterns. So what do we do when those old patterns are creating a consistent thing in our life without going back and healing them? How do you deal with that with somebody to move forward?
Well, the thing is, patterns are patterns because we keep nurturing them. And we keep nurturing them because we tell the same story over and over again. And so, of course, you may have patterns now, but I also work with like techniques from neuroscience. And neuroscience is all about like the patterns that you have, the results that you have in your life. They're also made by the connections in your brain with the neurons. And okay, so let's stop feeding and nurturing one specific connection and let's create a new one. And I'm all about creation. I will never deny that something happened and there is a pattern, but most of the time, people, one, tell a story, they justify that they can't do this or that because of their story. And then, and I lost my train of thoughts, but it happens. And then, yes, and sometimes more often they are not aware that there is a pattern. Because some people, they just have these patterns and they just don't realize that it's the same thing repeating over and over again. But when you have like awareness of the situation And when you take an honest look at the situation, then you can go, wow, okay, I've been telling this story over and over again, and now it became my identity. But now I'm aware of that, and now I want to change. So how do we do that? Most often people are not, they are not conscious, they are not aware at all of what's going on. But yeah, they tell the same story. And it's a comfort zone. It's a comfort zone to say, yeah, I have a trauma. I can't do that. It, and it's very uncomfortable, but it is a comfort zone. And awareness and realizing that you don't have to be defined by your story, the story you keep telling yourself, is the first step to changing that. Awareness is everything. I think you would agree with me on that, that once you're aware that something is going on, the shift is already happening.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It gives us the power to create something new.
Yeah.
Because now we can go, this is a pattern. This is something that I have been playing, a story I've been telling myself. Do I want to choose it again, or do I want something new? I definitely agree. That's a really beautiful way to look at it too, because it is all about moving forward. And I personally find sometimes clients, and this is just because it's the way we're trained, this is also traditional therapy, is all about going back and looking at, your mom issues and the root cause of things. But a lot of clients will sort of be fixated on, but I'm scared, but I'm nervous, and it makes progress really slow. When I'm saying, like, we can create a new story. You can choose to be somebody different, and it's like, but I've never been good at this. But and we digress into the past, and it really does cause things to go slower in your own life. And I witnessed that in my own life. It's like, am I really willing to step out and create a new story? Because if I am, things shift fast. But when I'm not, we just kind of keep digressing and keep not choosing something new.
Yeah. And I really feel that everything can be learned. Even if, okay, something happened in my past and I lost all confidence and self-esteem, then it can be learned, to be confident and to believe in yourself. Everything, even we say we learn skills, but becoming the best version of yourself can be learned.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. So tell me about how this has changed your life, this realization and really focusing on, that things are just a story, with the awareness of not wanting to cause regret in your life, heal the regret you may have and move on. How has this really affected your life and your ability to manifest?
I'm taking leaps all the time. And I'm just like, whatever, I'm taking the leap, and then it works or it doesn't work, but I'm doing this anyway, and I'm having fun doing that. Because even if it doesn't work out my way, because I do know that I am standing in the way of my manifestation sometimes just because I want to make things happen. I'm a control freak, but sometimes I want to control things I can't control. And so if it doesn't work out just because I try too hard and the universe just telling me, I told you, you know that already. And, at least I'm just, oh, okay, I tried, and next, let's move on. Next. I'm just not going to stay there. And it really allows me to walk my talk. I'm not just saying to people, yes, do this, while I'm just sitting on my couch and waiting for time to, for time to go by. And life is such an adventure. When you try things, when you take leaps of faith, and when you just, okay, I don't know what's next, but I'm going there anyway. And it's the best way to learn, and it's the best way to grow. And I just love that. Even if I struggle sometimes, even if I'm challenged, I feel that since I really began to follow my intuition and follow the nudges and the impulses, I have the impression that I live much more like until I was like 20 something, I was just, living life like I was surviving. But now I have the impression that I'm living many lives in one because of the adventures, the experience, and the gratitude for all the struggles and the challenges, because I learn and I grow so much and so fast.
Wow.
And it's like an accelerator to growth,
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge. So, what would you say for people then, almost like a top tip or like the thing that they really need to know when they're wanting to stop living in the past, release the regrets, not cause more moving forward? Maybe this conversation has really sparked, something in them realizing that, yeah, I have regrets and it's stopping me from living my best life. What's the first thing or the top thing that you feel they need to know?
Go for it. Face the fear. I mean, and every time there is fear coming, it means that you are onto something. It means that there is something you have to explore because there is fear. So, go for it. And at the end, you're not walking naked in the street. I think, to me, that's the worst thing, to be naked, like really naked in the street. There is nothing worse than that. So if you face a fear and it doesn't work out, at least you are not walking naked in the street.
I love that. That's so good. At least I'm not walking naked in the street.
Yeah, and I really feel that it's about action at this point. There is an inner voice that gives us insights every single day and several times a day, and we just don't listen. And I would say, listen to that voice. It's here for a reason, and do what it says, because you are the only one standing in your way of your dreams. You are your worst enemy, and you can also be your best ally in that adventure that is life. So listen to that voice, and yes, there will be fear, and yes, sometimes it's not easy, but miracles, they are on the other side of fear. They really are. And it's a beautiful way to see what unfolds. Because we don't get to see what can unfold for us if we stay where we are.
I love how you say that if you're experiencing fear, that's a good sign, because it's taken me a while to really truly get that, because I think in regular people land, they think fear is something to stop. Or it's confusing. Is this my intuition or is this fear? But you got to do some work on, for me, it was the ego and highest self work. I was teaching it for years, and I really started recognizing what's the voice of my ego and what's the voice of my authentic self. So that really helped me. But now whenever I'm scared, I even recently invested in a mentor, and I'm like, I'm really nervous. It's big work. It's new level for myself, investment wise, but also what we're going to be working on. And she wrote back and she's just like, that's exactly where we should be, sweetie. And I kind of had this moment of like, she's right. I've been learning and relearning that. And so if you do have that fear, especially when it's that sort of nervousness, kind of jittery, like, oh my goodness, am I really doing this? Whether it's booking a trip or going out on a date or investing in yourself or starting a business or whatever, that is a sign that you're breaking into new territory. So I love that you brought that up, because it's so true.
And I feel that if there is fear, but there is also excitement at the same time, then you should definitely go for it.
Yeah. And be open, right? Like it might not pan out the way that you think, but it's going to be very valuable for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would also say that don't think about it for too long, because the more we think about something, the less we are to do it.
Yep.
So it's about acting, and acting fast.
Yeah, that's the law of diminishing intent. I don't know if you've heard of that, but yeah. When my first, I don't know when that was brought to me years ago, but she's like, yeah, that's the law of diminishing intent. I'm like, what? Tell me about this. And I realized, yep, when you don't act on something, it fizzles out, and your ego comes in and tells you all the reasons you shouldn't, and you're not going to justify the money or the time or the whatever, the bravery it takes. And that really does happen. So I like that you brought that in, because I have a feeling that about not creating more regrets in your life, it's like,
Yeah.
just go for it, like you've been saying, right?
Yeah, and it's also the way that the human brain is wired. And even in neuroscience, they talk about it. It's the more you think about doing something or not, and the more you rationalize your way out by making excuses like, oh, it's okay. So you feel better about your decision about not doing it. But on the long term, you're not feeling that better anymore, You're not feeling that good anymore when you
Yeah.
reflect on what you didn't do.
Yeah. I bet that's a big part of regret, is people sort of waiting too long and then the window goes, taking too long to decide, or ho-humming about it for a long time, and then it fizzles out and it's something they just never did.
Yeah. I would say, yeah, get rid of the thought that, oh, the opportunity will come again, or, because sometimes, yeah, as you said, the window is very small and you have to just go in and seize the moment.
Yeah. Also, even if you're going to get another chance later, why delay your happiness?
Yes.
Because, like, say it is starting a business, quitting your job, like, you could do that at any time. But why? Like, why, if you know it's exciting and you know your soul's calling you to do something, why put off your own joy and satisfaction in life and happiness? Because isn't that what you really want? Is joy and
Yes.
happiness, right?
Very well said. I love that.
That's good. That's good. So is there any last things you want to say? Is there anything you want to touch on, or anything else you want to share with my audience about this, or about anything?
Well, if I get into something else, we can talk for 3 hours. Uh,
Yeah.
but no, I will just say that the fact that we are human, and in this physical body, it what's the word in English? Restrain
Restrict?
us, restricts us. It's like we're in this physical body, and sometimes we just feel defined by it. And there is so much more when we really realize that, oh my God, I'm human. Yes, I am in a body, but I am not this body. I am something else. And we have this amazing mind, and we have this amazing universe that is working with us. And it's just about realizing that even with all the trauma that you have, and even with all the regret that you have, you always have an opportunity to write a new story. And you are so powerful. I mean, you can do anything. You can do anything. And so just don't say that you're just a body. It's false. And just go for whatever it is that you want. And you only have this one life. That's all I just want to say. It's go for it, and take leaps of faith, and just listen to that voice. You're not crazy. The voice is there, and and it can take you to places you couldn't even imagine, because your soul and your intuition, your higher self, is calling you. Just have to listen.
Yeah, because we don't want to be on our deathbed regretting our whole life,
No.
That is truly probably the worst case scenario.
Yes. And I don't wish that for anybody. I mean, we're here for a reason, and it's to grow, it's to thrive, and it's to experience the contrast. And the contrast is beautiful. It's meant for us to grow and evolve.
Yeah. And maybe too, that feeling of regret. I know that you probably understand this, teaching law of attraction, but I really believe that when we don't feel good, it's because we're not aligned with what the story of the source inside of us is saying. So I'll use the example, if we look in the mirror and we feel bad about our body, it's because it's opposite of what source thinks about our body, which is that you're gorgeous and you're enough and it's all perfect. So maybe too, the feeling of regret is just kind of coming to me now, is like that indication of not being aligned with source. Like you weren't taking those nudges, right? We're talking about listening to your intuition and taking those nudges. So it's almost like maybe that emotion of regret is actually telling you, it's that signal that you weren't listening to what the story of the source inside you was nudging you to do. And it's not in judgment. It's more like that's how the point comes across, is through emotion and through feeling, right? So that means you weren't listening to what that source inside you was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
crazy. Yeah.
I
So,
agree.
yeah. So, if anybody wants to find you, which they definitely should, how can we find more about you? Or if somebody wanted to work with you, I will put the links in the show notes, but can you share that with us?
So I'm very active on social media. I can be found like on Instagram, _ Cecile Thomas. I have also a French profile, but I guess none of your audience speaks French. Or maybe if you want to learn French, you can find my profiles in French. And I also have a website. It's cecilet.com. And where I have like a few freebies to download, like a few processes to listen more to your intuition, or to I have a workbook to reclaim your creative power and work with the law of attraction. That can be found there.
Awesome. I'll definitely put that in the show notes so people can grab that and find you. And there may be French speaking ladies in our audience. I am in Canada, so, shout out to everyone who speaks French.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really enjoyed this conversation. I know there's so much more that we can tap into, so maybe you'll just have to come back. We kind of had to pick one topic and go with it, but I know there's so much more you have to offer us, and I look forward to how we can do that together again in the future. So thank you so much for sharing your light and coming on, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. I really hope you loved it. Before I go, I want to acknowledge you for taking time out of your day to fuel your spiritual connection and manifest your future. I know you're busy, and just listening to this raises your vibe, resets your belief, and creates a positive ripple effect into your life. And you are doing such a good job. I am honored that you invited me into your life and into your ears. It's a beautiful thing, and I truly appreciate it. Remember, you are a powerful creator who is creating the most beautiful life as we speak. So today, I cheers to you.